One of the best parts about being a drama therapist, one of the best parts about being a speaker, a life coach, all of these fun things that I get to do is I get the privilege of going into different environments, for example, your workplace, and tailor creating a workshop that meets your needs. One of the favorite workshops that I've done in my past is something called Identity Maintenance for Women. Now, us women, we got a lot of stuff to do. We are busy. Not saying that everybody isn't busy, but women in particular, we wear a lot of hats. We have a lot of different roles that we play. And I have found that for women in particular, especially after you have children, it can be very challenging to find out, who am I now? Who am I at home? Who am I at work? Who am I with my partner? Who am I as a mom? So many different things to be. So when I say identity maintenance, a lot of it is trying to help you figure out, who am I now, and am I marching in the direction that I want to march in? And helping you figure out what are some of the barriers to success. So with identity maintenance for women, we again talk about those different roles that you play and trying to help you to figure out how you can balance them all so you can maintain some type of level of success and really feel like you are living your best life. Now, sometimes we have to figure out, do I want to go back to a version that I was? Did I completely lose her? Did I bury her at some point? Do I want to recreate and reincorporate and roll them all forward into some new version of me that I haven't even met yet? So we go through this process called roll card exercise, where we get to figure out who you are, who you're not, and who you want to be. It's a really simple but very effective exercise because, again, we get to see how all those roles are talking to each other and really showing up in the various parts of your life. Now, I'm saying it's for women because obviously we play a lot of different roles, wear a lot of different hats. But if I'm coming into your workplace and you have a whole bunch of different types of employees, it doesn't have to be just for women. Identity maintenance applies to everybody because everybody plays a lot of different roles, probably especially in the workplace. Now, also in the workplace, sometimes we've been at a job for a long time and it just does not feel fun anymore. And you can tell that the company culture has gone right? And everybody has lost their will to be there, especially if people are transitioning from working at home to having to come back into a work environment. How do we spice it up? How do we make it fun again? It's kind of like being in a long-term relationship. How do you keep it fun? So one of the main ways to keep it fun, to keep people wanting to come back, is for everybody to stay curious about each other. The antidote to boredom is curiosity. Because if I go into work every day and I think I know exactly how it's going to be, how everybody's going to act, the assignments that I'm going to have, how my boss is going to treat me, of course I'm going to feel really bored and I'm not going to want to be able to come in and give my best self. But I come in with some type of curiosity and I think that the other people that I'm working with are just as equally curious about me. That's going to keep the energy up. And how do you stay curious? Well, you stay curious by asking questions and don't assume that you know everything about the people around you. So another workshop that I love to engage in with my clients is to help companies figure out how to improve their company culture. Now, one of the best ways to do that, here's just a top line little tidbit here, is to treat every individual like an individual. Not everybody is going to thrive in the same exact way. So person A may thrive working from home from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and that is their sweet spot. The next person may thrive from 2 p.m. to midnight. And I understand that not every company has the luxury of working at all those different times, but if you can survey your employees to figure out, where do you live? Where do you thrive? Where do you feel you're most productive? That's a wonderful way to keep that company culture up, spirits up, because you're realizing, wow, they're asking me how I can best contribute to the company, as opposed to the company dictating to them, here's what you have to do every single day under these particular rules. So understanding that each individual has one particular thing that they're good at and letting that individual be good at that particular thing. One of my favorite topics to talk about is a person's core values. Core values are literally what make you you. I like to describe it this way. So people say, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna work on my core today. So when you talk about working on your core, you're talking about working this part of your body, right? It's your abs, keeps you strong. Your core is in charge of maintaining your balance. If you have a weak core, somebody's gonna come up and push you, you're gonna fall over. So think about your core self as the spiritual or emotional core of you. It's the abs of your spirit. It keeps you balanced. So when your core gets out of whack, you will start to do things that are outside of what we call your moral compass. And your moral compass is what keeps you in line with the value system that is most important to you. So over the years, I've realized that for me, I have a top 4 things that are important when it comes to my core values. Honesty, integrity, compassion, and empathy are the 4 core values that keep me in check and keep me in balance. What I've also figured out over time is that sometimes you have a hierarchy of core values and they may actually be in conflict with each other. For example, I like to use this example because I think that people can relate to this. So when you think about the mafia, right? We think about the mafia, they're all about loyalty, yes? Okay. So loyalty comes first. Now that may mean that if honesty comes second, every once in a while you may have to lie to stay loyal to your family, to stay loyal to your mafia family. So sometimes loyalty and honesty can be in conflict with each other. Now, when your value system is in conflict with each other, that's where you may start to have that kind of gut instinct that says, ooh, I'm doing something that doesn't feel quite right. And then you have to go back to your hierarchy and figure out, well, does this stay in alignment with my moral compass? You also have to figure out, where does your core value system come from? Was this something that was gifted to you from your family? Did it just get passed down to you that these are the things that must be important to you? Or did you have the freedom to figure out as your adult self, these are the core values that are important to me that I want to continue to uphold as an adult and I want to bring with me into the family that I create? So your core values, that is an important thing. It's a checklist to go through. There's so many of them: honesty and faith, integrity, family. Figure out what you feel makes you feel most connected to who you are, and then you can never go wrong. So there's a fun topic out there. It's called Don't Yuck My Yum. Now, most of the time we hear that in conjunction with food. So maybe for you, I say, I like to take a day-old French fries and heat them up the next day and eat with ranch dressing. For you, maybe going, oh, that's disgusting. For me, I'm like, yes, that's so yummy, right? So being kind and being curious and supportive about what other people enjoy is really sexy. It's a really nice thing to do. If somebody says something they love, don't immediately go, ooh, that's gross. Go, oh, why do you like that? Or why does that taste good to you? Now that's just with food. Now there's so many different things that we like. We each have something called a joy blueprint. What lights me up is not going to be what lights you up, and that's okay. But if we can stay curious and engaging about what makes the other person smile, that is a much better way to communicate about those types of things. Now, when I say don't yuck my yum, I also mean you want to be able to surround yourself with people that support your joy. Find your tribe. If you like to watch football all Sunday long, find other people that like to watch football with you. Don't go someplace where nobody likes to do what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of all day long and you're not going to feel very well. Now, also, don't yuck my yum means there are 3 gatekeepers to your mouth. Before you say something to somebody else that's a comment about what anybody else is doing, I implore you, please ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, is it necessary? Do I really need to be saying what I'm about to be saying to forward the conversation? Number 2, is it true? Is what I'm about to be saying, is it true? Is it factually true? And number 3, is it kind? Now, I love the fact that is it necessary comes first because, wow, we say a lot of stuff out there that does not need to be said, that actually does not forward any type of conversation. So let yourself go through those gatekeepers. Think of it like lock, lock, lock. Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? And if you're engaging in somebody about a subject they love and it passes all those tests, then you could probably say what you're about to say. So in order to really fully understand drama therapy, one has to see it in action. So because it is a kinetic type of therapy, I thought, you know what? Let's grab some volunteers and see if we can sort of explain an exercise to you all. So I have this amazing group of volunteers here. Thank you guys. And we're going to do an exercise called noticing versus imagining. And I hope that you'll follow along with us. Now, noticing is a very simple thing. Noticing is something that you can physically see with your eyes about another human being, right? So let me give you an example of what noticing is not. You can't notice someone being kind. You can notice something that they're doing that you are labeling as kind. So for example, if I walked into this building and one of these lovely people here had held the door open for me, you would say, I noticed that that person held the door open for the other person. I think that that's kind. but I can't label it as such because I don't actually know that person's motive. That person may have opened the door for me because their mom told them, if you don't, you're being a horrible person. That person may have held the door open because they didn't even see me there. They weren't even trying to be kind. I kind of ran through, right? So we don't understand a person's motive. We only notice what it is that they did. Now, I imagine that that person's trying to be kind. And since I imagine that that person is trying to be kind, I'm going to interact with that person in a different way. But with this group of people right here, what we're going to do is something very simple. We're just going to notice things about each other. So I'm going to give you an example. I notice that this person here has on a UCLA basketball shirt. Pretty cool. I went to UCLA. I like that shirt. Now, I'm going to imagine that because he has on a UCLA basketball shirt, that he must be a fan of UCLA. I'm imagining that. So if I had met him on the street, I was like, ooh, he's got a UCLA basketball shirt on. I'm going to go up to him and say, oh, I love the Bruins. How'd they do in the game last night? He may look at me and go, I have no idea. I don't follow UCLA. And I may look like an idiot because I talked to him about UCLA. But let's check in. Do you happen to be a UCLA basketball fan?
Technically, no. I've never watched this is my friend's shirt, to be honest. But I do love UCLA, like, as an aesthetic, as a school, like the campus and everything. And that was like my top choice when applying for colleges. But no, I don't know anything about their basketball program.
So there you go. Good example, right? I noticed he has on the shirt. I may interact with him like he's a fan, but I didn't know where he got the shirt. Again, I'm just imagining that he's a fan. Now, if you all don't mind, I'd love it if you could take a look at each other and just say something that you notice about another person. So if you don't mind, if you could take a look at our volunteer here and say, what do you notice about her?
I noticed that you have a cool dress on, and so that makes me think that you're kind of like an artsy or like not like basic kind of person. Like you have your own style. Yeah.
Very nice. So he actually took it to the next step. So he noticed that she has on an artsy dress, right? A very cool dress. So he imagined that she's kind of an artsy type of person. Now, are you an artsy type of person?
I am.
Very good. So that was an accurate imagining. Now, would you interact with her any differently because you think that she's an artsy person?
I think so, yeah.
How would you interact differently?
I think since I myself feel like I'm an artsy person, it would have me feel more comfortable when I'm communicating with her and just be more myself, I guess.
Yeah. So he may feel a bit endeared to her and think that they might have something in common because he's thinking artsy. Hey, we probably have a similar type of language. Very good. Awesome. So if you don't mind, if you can take a look here and see, what do you notice?
He has the same shoes I'm wearing.
He does. Twinsies. All right. So you notice he's got the same type of shoes. And so
Yep.
what do you imagine about him because you have the same type of shoes?
That we might have the same taste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Representing Vans. You guys both like Vans? All right. Shout out to Vans. All right. So you guys might have the same type of taste. So would you interact with him any differently because you notice you've got the same type of shoes on?
yeah, like if I saw him on the street, I'd be like, hey, yo, bro, nice shoes. And be like, hey, and then start a conversation that way.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't touch you.
Always ask for consent before you can touch, right? Yeah, okay, good. So again, you guys may feel endeared to each other, alrighty? So this was a pretty innocuous example of noticing versus imagining. But this is something that we are doing all of the time on split-second basis, right? We always have a first impression of somebody, assuming what it is about that person, blah, 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 blah. Earlier today, I noticed one of them said to each other, actually said to you, you got a shirt on, makes you look like Prince Eric from Ariel, you know? So again, hey, he's like a prince, may interact differently with each other. Now, let me tell you where this goes wrong. So if you don't mind, if all of you could kind of stand in a type of body language that looks a little standoffish. Go into whatever you imagine standoffish looks like. But yeah, that's what you feel standoffish looks like? Okay.
I was going to do that one, but I want to mix it up.
You guys can have different versions of standoffish. Okay, right? So notoriously, when people close off their body, whether it's closing their arms like this, or putting any type of arms in front of them, it feels a little closed off, yeah? So you may start to interact with somebody just based off of that. So if I was taking a look at him and I hadn't met him before, and this is my first impression of him, I may instantly go, I notice he's got his arms crossed over his body, kind of looks like maybe he's protecting himself, so he doesn't seem so approachable. So if I was out and about, saw him standing around, he may not be the person I would go up to and say, hey, do you have the time? Or, you know, is this a good restaurant? Kind of looks like, don't talk to me. Now, between everybody else, I think maybe he looks a little bit more approachable. Yeah, he's got his hands right here, looks open. She even looks a little bit more approachable than that. But here's where noticing and imagining can go wrong. I don't know what's going on in this guy's head. This just may be comfortable for him, right? Yeah? So I may miss an opportunity to interact with this person because I'm imagining he's in a bad mood or he doesn't want to be talked to because his arms are crossed, okay? And so that is just an assessment that I made in my little brain right here going, this is what I imagine is happening for this person, which is cutting off an opportunity for interaction. How this goes terribly wrong in relationships. All right, everybody can go back to neutral real quick, okay? Now, it just so happens that all of these lovely people know each other, they work with each other, so they probably know a lot about each other. But if you're in a relationship, you may have an interaction where you come downstairs, your partner is sitting there with their head and their hands at the table, right? So if you come downstairs and you see somebody at the table with their head and their hands like this, what would your first impression be? What do you think is going on?
What happened?
Something
What
bad.
happened?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed. What happened? Something bad happened, right? Okay, so you come downstairs, person's like this. In your brain, you may go, uh-oh, that person's overwhelmed, or they're in a bad mood, or they're grumpy. So I'm not going to interact with that person all morning. In fact, I'm going to sneak out of the house without talking to that person. You may have just caught that person in a moment where they're trying to remember, did they put eggs on the grocery store list, right? We don't know what's going on for that person. But you're making a choice that says that person's grumpy, I'm sneaking out of the house, I don't talk to the person all day, and now that person's left going, well, what's the matter with you? And now you're in a fight that you didn't even know you were in a fight with because now you're not talking to a person that just had a moment and you thought that must have something to do with me, so now I'm in trouble. So now you've created a whole big issue because of what you imagined, because of what you noticed. So instead of noticing and acting on your imagining, I implore you, everybody, just act on what you notice and ask a question, right? So instead, if you can go back to this, instead of me thinking he's in a bad mood, I can go, hey, how you doing today? You okay?
I'm good. I'm just a little cold.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
fine.
totally.
How are you?
It makes sense. I go like this when I'm cold too. I'm good. I'm doing really well, right? Yes? Okay, good. So noticing and imagining. Don't act on what you imagine. Always ask questions, check in, stay curious about your other person. And if you're ever lost, just say, I noticed this about you. People cannot refute what you notice. He can't say, I wasn't standing there with my hands crossed, because he was. So always go back to what you notice, and then you can follow up with, how you doing? And that'll create an interaction that'll be much better for both of you. My name is Alexis Marin. I'm a registered drama therapist, a life coach, and a speaker. And if drama therapy is something that's interesting to you, please feel free to check out my videos on my YouTube channel. And for free resources, please visit my website, www.alexismarin.com. Hello, my name is Alexis Marin, and I am a registered drama therapist, a life coach, and a speaker.